Welcome, friends, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us. We hope you grab your cup of coffee or your cold drink and you sit down for this brief hour that we're going to spend together. And hopefully we'll walk away a little bit changed, because Take Two is all about taking a look again, a look at ourselves and the world around us, our relationships, what's happening to us, our spiritual growth, anything you can really name that we all go through together. We want to do this together. We lock arms, and that's what Take Two is all about. So get ready. This is going to be a very active show. I can feel it. And Matt Gabinski is on, ready to go with to answer your phone calls to get you on to the show. And we're excited he's back. Welcome back, Matt. And Rich Jesse is our producer, and he is excited about this show as well. We talked a little bit before the show about how this is going to be a very interesting show because of everybody's got a little unique spin to it. So we want you to finish the sentence. Finish the sentence. Ready? I married my spouse because you finish the sentence. So call in 1-800-585-9396. That's the number, 1-800-585-9396. Or you can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. You wait for a response, and then you put in your first name, your question, or your comment, and I will put it into the discussion. You notice I said I. Jerry Usher is traveling today, so he is heading back to California, and he's probably on a flight right at this moment, so he could not be with us. Normally, if he is able to, even in the airports, he has done so. But so that means that if he's not with us, he's probably in the air flying. So we wish Jerry safe travels and back home, and he'll be back tomorrow. But this is kind of appropriate because I am married and Jerry is not. And as a matter of fact, one of our wedding pictures, as we were just walking down the aisle after we became husband and wife, Marty and I, is snapped, and we have it as the meme for our Take Two show. So if you go to take2show.com, you'll see the picture of Marty and I becoming right after we became Mr. and Mrs. Giorgiani. So it's kind of fun. And it was just an exciting day, and it was we had 4 priests on the altar and 2 deacons. I worked for the parish at the time as the adult formation director, so my pastor made sure that I had a lot of clergy. It was really fun, and we had just a really beautiful Mass, and it was just an extraordinary day. So yes, the picture's there if you'd like to see it. And I'll share a little bit more about why I married my spouse, or why God brought us together. And we want to hear from you, though, because everybody has a unique story. And keep in mind that people are listening who are contemplating marriage, who are ready to walk down that aisle. And what you have to say can really help them, could really shape how their marriage unfolds, how it evolves. So keep that in mind when you call in, 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to be on the show. You don't want to hear me talking all hour about why I married Marty. So I want to hear from you, because I want to walk away a little bit changed, to just have a different outlook. And in order to do that, we've got to hear from you. So think about it for a moment and share and finish the sentence, I married my spouse because... I married my spouse because. 1-800-585-9396. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And Jerry is traveling today, so you only have me. But when we come back, we're going to go right to the phones, and we're going to talk more about your story, about why you married your spouse. How did that turn out? Maybe the initial reason you married your spouse has changed and shifted because of life circumstances, maybe some health issues or financial situations, whatever, and maybe that's changed. Maybe the love has shifted a bit, evolved a bit, grown a bit. We want to hear everything. If you're willing to share it, we're willing to listen. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we come right back. Kathleen, you're up first.
Today's meditation for the second Monday of Lent, Monday of the second week, is really another one of those big pushes we get from our Lord in Lenten time to get us to change. One sentence from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, 37. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Very difficult to do, especially for religious people, people with moral values, people who expect others to be responsible. It's very hard for us not to judge those who seem to be irresponsible, who seem to be amoral or immoral. And this is a very, very difficult thing for us to do. And Jesus tells us why not to judge, so that we will not be judged ourselves, that we will not have a severe judgment before God. Now, much of the problem in the present situation is people don't even believe there is a judgment. So we do believe in judgment, but we don't act like we believe in judgment. We think all of these things that we do don't count for anything. Why does he say, do not judge? Because you don't know why a person did something. I've worked all my life with poor people, but also with delinquent people. But the children whose parents and grandparents were on the dole, who never worked, who don't see a way out, who don't know the immensely therapeutic value of work and self-responsibility, they're very hostile to everyone, and they're hostile to religion. But how easy it would be to judge if you didn't know that these children were brought up without purpose, without meaning, without God, without faith, and without any hope at all.
As promised, we're going right to the phone, so when a line becomes open, please jump in. This is going to be a very active and very fast show, so don't hesitate. The Spirit is prompting you. Dial this number, 1-800-585-9396. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Jerry's traveling today. He's heading back home to California, but he will be back tomorrow for sure, God willing. Okay, Kathleen, up first in Buffalo, New York, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling in so early.
I knew I had an immediate answer as soon as I heard that question. Because I've always said to my husband that you brought me home. You know, you made it comfortable for me to put God first in my life. And before I met you, I was, kind of all over the place. And I had already recommitted to that relationship with God. And it was a reversion, if you will. And he really was very accepting of that. He had a little trouble with, I love God first, at first. But then he understood. And then if I could love God first in my life, then I can love you so much better. So wow. I just want to say thank you to my husband, John, for being my rock of Gibraltar. He's a wonderful, wonderful spouse. And God first in our life always, and it hasn't been an easy marriage. We've had a couple of rough spots, but we got through it. And I think it was because we had our joint faith in God.
That is beautiful. Kathleen, first of all, I'm sure you're going to probably play this back if John's not listening already, which I hope he is listening, but you'll be able to.
I'm trying to text him.
Okay, good. Well, you can get the replay of the show at nighttime, same time, or 9 o'clock. Well, it's 9 p.m. Pacific time. At nighttime too, as well, or on take2show.com or YouTube or on EWTN.com. So many ways you can hear the replay of it. And John is very blessed that you have such gratitude in your heart, I believe, because when he hears it, I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So many spouses don't have that gratitude, unfortunately, and that's what leads to so many problems. But let me just ask you this question, Kathleen. You made the comment. You started off. He made you feel. He brought you home. Home again. Okay. What did he do? What did he say? How did he act to make you feel that way?
Well, I think when we were first dating, and I had been dating Mr. Wrong for a long time, and once that went away, I said to this guy who I just met, John, and I said, I've got a lot of skeletons in my closet, and eventually I'll probably tell you, and I think I should, and I think it just clears the board, and that way then, we're not trying to pretend or trying to cover up or trying to evade something, which I kind of felt like I had been doing in relationships in the past, just trying to be something that I really was not happy with. And I think that, right away he was like, that's okay, I have skeletons too. Although, once I figured it out, his skeletons were not as bad as mine. But he was still willing, to be open, to my telling him, a few things that bothered me. And I think that not only, it was just that honesty that we could have, but also that openness to the faith. I mean, he will say that he was somewhat of an agnostic. And I honestly lost my faith when I went to college. I had become, I would say, atheist light. I wasn't angry about it. I just didn't get it, and I only felt like, it didn't, the people that I saw, it didn't bring solutions to what, their lives were presenting as problems and things like that. But that was a very small, view of those, just a few people that I had known in my family, et cetera, et cetera. So when I came back to my faith, I really wanted to do, whatever God was calling me to do. And of course, it didn't happen that I figured it all out right away. It does take a while for you to make that commitment, but I would just say that if you can look at God first as, your focus, and just, try to work with him, and you work with your, with the person that you're considering, or anybody that you just start dating or whatever, that you sort of have that openness. And I think that that's actually really good for the other person too, because it gives them that kind of a breathing space too, where, they're not too sure either. Now, and I will say, when we got married, we had a wonderful marriage, like I heard you say earlier. I mean, we were really blessed. Our pre-Cana went really well, and we really felt the Holy Spirit in the church. We had so many people come up to us afterwards and say, that was really one of the most spiritual weddings I've ever been to. And, we were like, okay, well, we got it all in the bag. It's all good.
Right.
Yeah, and then my husband actually got his... he became confirmed, I think, a year or so after we were married. He had never been confirmed as a teenager, so I ended up being his sponsor, which was kind of neat. But I will say that WLOF, being associated with EWTN, both had been instrumental in the last 20 years of our marriage. EWTN especially, because I had just started watching Mother Angelica when we first got married, and she was on, and she came home. He said, "What are you watching?" I said, "I don't know, but this little old nun shaking her finger at me, first of all, reminds me of my mother, and second of all, she's hilarious. She's just talking about how she could make a rosary out of all the gallstones that she just had removed."
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I love this woman. I don't know who she is, but she's great. And so watching all the programs on EWTN, all the catechism programs, and Father Groeschel and the Journey Home, et cetera, really helped us a lot. I mean, it was a really nice way to ease into what we didn't get when we were younger. So
that's beautiful. Well, Kathleen, a couple things. First of all, you're in Buffalo, New York, so the replay is at midnight tonight for you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so it's at midnight. Okay, and the second thing is we have a lot in common, because I am my husband's sponsor for confirmation as well. So we have that in common, which is really interesting. The other thing too, I'm hearing you say, Kathleen, and I hope I heard it correctly, is just this feeling that John allowed you to be your authentic self, and you allowed John to be his authentic self, and I think that is really beautiful. Because that's when you really get to know one another. It's soul to soul. And when you do go through those, the rocky road of life, it allows you to really tap into your strengths and to really depend on one another. Where one is weak, the other one can be strong, and it does build for a nice bond, a lifelong bond. And I think that is really beautiful what you had to say, Kathleen. And bringing it back to the heart of it, which is putting God first, I think is just key. And I pray that so many young people, or even older people that are contemplating marriage, please listen to that. That is huge. That is huge. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for being the first one. Thank you for starting the show off right. And I'm sure you and John are really going to enjoy listening to the replay at midnight. You'll have to stay up. But God bless you, Kathleen. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful rest of your day in Buffalo, New York. Okay, there is an open phone line, so that's for you to jump in at 1-800-585-9396. We're talking today on Take Two about I married my spouse because everybody has a unique story. Everyone does. We all do. And life is not, a cookie cutter life, although sometimes there's certain aspects of life that can seem like it happens to everyone, but everybody has a little bit of a unique feel to it and a unique spin to it. And we want to hear about yours today because we can learn and we can grow. So Sherry, you are up next. You're listening to EWTN Radio in St. Petersburg, Florida on Peace Be With You Radio. Hi, Sherry. Kathleen started us off strong, so here you go. Take it away.
Hi. Okay. So I just love anything about marriage, just have to say. So thank you so much for even, having this discussion today. My husband and I, we knew each other 4 weeks when we got married. And we had 5 daughters and, married 23 years. And, we were married probably for more of all the wrong reasons, but, he seemed like a nice guy. He seemed face value. I mean, talk about nothing God-oriented or anything, And somehow I think over the process of time, as we've both grown in our faith, I remember when we were dating, and I said to him, "Well, are you a Christian?" And that was my big criteria, and he said yes.
Oh.
I was like, okay. So we just kind of we're willing to just get caught up in life together. And I remember we had a sunset marriage on the beach, married by the justice.
I'm sorry, Sherry. I can't. Are you back? I think I lost Sherry. Oh, Sherry, we were just getting to the good part of your story. Okay, maybe we can get Sherry back. Rich, if you could check to see if we can get Sherry back. Let's put Sherry on hold, and Sherry, we'll get to part 2 if we can get you back, because it sounds like, Sherry just dropped, and then maybe she'll call back. Sherry, call back. We're all waiting. Okay, Diane, you're up next in Sugar Land, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Hi. We lost Sherry, but it's all yours.
Okay. My husband and I had been married, and I'm sorry, my memory fails me. We're either about to celebrate 27 or 28 years.
Okay. You're married a long time. How's that?
Yes. And what drew me to him, I was looking for a man who just loved the Lord with all of his heart, that, Christ was first in his life because he had become first in my life. And so anyway, when I met him, I was chronically ill. I had to drop out of college, and I was really in bad shape, living with my parents, trying to get better. And in the midst of that, I met him. And I had come to a place where I had to trust that the Lord would bring a man into my life to marry me, even in my illness. And so I had come to that place through working through a lot of, fear and depression and discouragement, envisioning myself living with my parents all my life and never getting well. And so anyway, I met him. We just hit it off with our personalities, just easy to talk to him. And he was that man who Christ was just absolutely first in his life. And he did marry me in my sickness. It wasn't easy. I got better, but even to this day, I've never gotten completely well, and it's been very difficult when we had children. it was more difficult being pregnant, and then loved having my boys and being a mom, but it was very hard. So, it was, that's just hard on a marriage. And yet, we've done it. But here, what I didn't say is that when we married, part of my, my attraction, my desire, or let me say it this way, it was our faith. We were evangelical Christians. And so that was just such a big thing that we were like-minded in that. Well, fast forward, and he starts studying the Catholic faith. And he's always been very theologically minded. He had some seminary training, and fun for him was reading theological books, but he always read Protestant ones. Always trying to figure out, what certain doctrines, Jesus meant with certain teachings that Protestants just, don't see eye to eye on. Anyway, long story short is that we came into the church, but I thought I would never have to go through anything as hard as being chronically ill. And it was, one of those, I knew my options where I just loved my evangelical identity. And I thought, well, we can divorce. Well, I could divorce them. I could, just go with them, to Mass, but not convert. I could keep going to my church. Well, I knew divorce was out. So anyway, I remained open, and in time, through a difficult journey, but a rewarding one, we became Catholic. So anyway, we've just been through a lot together, and the Lord has just, worked on us through this and on our marriage and our relationship.
That is beautiful. Diane, I'm sure he's read Dr. Scott Hahn.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We have. I think, we turned over every stone there is to turn over when we, we're looking at the Catholic faith, because we just had so many. It's the last thing we ever thought we would do, and didn't have really, good perspective, I guess, and opinion of the Catholic Church. Believed a lot of the things that really aren't true. So, yeah, he's a wonderful man. He's been faithful. He's, continued to love me, and I'm just very thankful.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you share his first name so we can thank him as well?
Oh, yeah, it's Pat.
Pat. Okay. Pat, thank you so much. Thank you for studying the faith. Thank you for being putting Christ first. Thank you for welcoming Diane and what you've gone through health-wise, Diane, which is absolutely so admirable, I think is beautiful. And then to bring you home. So welcome home to Pat and Diane. I think that is awesome. Diane, I have to ask you this. Pat was so strong with your health issues, and here's the thing that what could you say to those young folks that are getting married that may eventually have a health situation happen to them, and it's so unfortunate, but a lot of times one of the spouses will run. They'll just run from it because they don't want to deal with it. What can you say, speaking on you're the receiving end of somebody who said that they're gonna walk with you through it?
Oh boy. I'm really not quite sure, except that there's just such reward when you don't run from difficult situations. There can be temptations to do so, and also there's that lie that the grass isn't greener on the other side. There comes a lot of other hardships. By running. God calls us to be faithful to one another, and He teaches us about His unconditional and abiding love for us, in the marriage covenant.
Beautiful, beautiful. Diane, I have you and Pat in our prayer book. We're going to pray that you continue to do well and stay strong and stay healthy and thriving. And Diane, thank you so much for blessing us today on Take Two. We'll be right back.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica. cannot be detached from sin just during Lent. That's a contradiction. If you have a habit of sin, any kind of grievous sin, you've got to be detached forever. You can't die, go to heaven, and say, Lord, you got me at my undetached week. If it's a grievous sin, and there is a grievous sin that we call mortal, used to call mortal sin, and you know it separates you from God. You have to stay away from it. That's what it means being detached. You've got to stay away from it. If you feel you're attached to a grievous sin, you've got to go to confession, try to get the indulgence, and then from that moment on, no more sin.
For more information on Mother Angelica, visit Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
Don't wait another minute. Now is the time to make your plans for the EWTN Family Celebration Canada. Saturday, April 1st is the date, and Ottawa, Ontario is the place for our celebration of the life and legacy of Mother Angelica. This is your chance to meet your favorite Catholic TV and radio hosts. For more information, go to EWTN.com/family celebration. We'll see you there. EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Great stories we're hearing today on Take Two about why we married our spouses. How interesting is that? I'm going to share a little bit more towards the end of the show. I want to keep you guys in suspense. So you can hang on with me because Jerry Usher is traveling today, so you just have little old me. And let's wish him safe travels back to California. He will be back tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow's show is really interesting. It's what would you title your autobiography? How interesting is that? So think about that overnight. And so let's have a really engaging show tomorrow as well. But stay tuned in all day long on EWTN Radio because every show it has a different feel to it, and it really speaks to so many souls and our hearts and where we're at today. We get this all the time. Callers or on Facebook will post things like, I was just happened to just tune in for a second and I didn't think I was going to listen long on EWTN and I just felt like God was speaking to me. Yeah, that's how God works. I mean, that's how beautiful it is. Okay, Terry, you're up next. You've been waiting so patiently in Fort Wayne, Indiana, listening to EWTN Radio on Redeemer Radio. Hi, Terry. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I would like to share with you why I married my husband, Calvin.
Okay.
He was, first of all, one of my best friends. And it was very cute because he had fallen in love with me and I'd fallen in love with him, and we were too shy to tell each other. But he's always just been such a good father to our children. One of the children, our son, is actually from my first marriage. And Calvin raised him up just like he was his own. Calvin took care of the family. He supported us. He was the house husband. He was the one who stayed home with the kids. And he wasn't Catholic, wasn't even baptized, but he was always very supportive of me raising the kids Catholic. And it wasn't until we were married about 23 or 24 years that Calvin just looked at me one day and said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to come into the church. So he became baptized and got the whole thing at Easter Vigil. It was beautiful. And he was surrounded by family, and he's just become such a man of prayer. And, now we're in a little different situation. My husband has dementia from traumatic brain injury. So now instead of being the one who takes care of the family, I'm the one who takes care of him. And the kids, they're grown. They're grown now and have their own lives, but they are still so much of a help and a blessing. as Calvin walks this road and as I walk it with him.
Right,
So.
right. Well, as you were speaking, Terry, a couple things. I put Calvin and you in our book, so you've got prayer all around you, global prayer around you and Calvin. So please, please let him know that. And it's a hard thing. I can relate. My mother has the beginning signs of it, dementia. And it's a very tough illness, and so my heart goes out to you, because I mean, it's like you said, you're going to walk it together, and literally you're going to walk it together, and in the sense that it's a day-to-day thing. And Terry, I just wanted to say, something that you said about Calvin, I think can really help those that are thinking about going into marriage as a vocation. You made the comment that he allowed you to raise the children Catholic, and then 23 or 24 years later, he said, "Okay, I'm ready." Let me ask you this question: did you just live the faith, or did you force the faith on him? And I'm going somewhere with this, because there's a lot of couples that think, well, I'll marry this person and I'm going to make them Catholic. So tell us a little bit of the backstory on that, because that can really help couples.
Well, at first I did try to force him into being Catholic. And I realized that wasn't going anywhere. He was putting up walls and he just wouldn't want to talk about it. So I just prayed for the grace just to live the faith as an example to him. And it took another 10 years, but he ended up coming in. He just said, "I'm ready."
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, please tell Calvin we're so happy he's home, and I feel so happy that he has you next to him, because you're just the perfect person to walk with him on this. And you could hear the love in your heart. You could hear the devotion that you have. And I thought it was beautiful how you said the two of you were just too shy to tell each other that you loved. I think that is just precious. And as you can tell, I'm very emotional. So, Terry, would you keep us posted on your journey with Calvin and how you're doing? And we're here for you. I
certainly will.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All the support I can get.
Well, yeah, that's what we need. We need that in this world, because this can be a tough life journey that we're all on. So, Terry, you can count on us for the prayers and the love and the support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Wow, that was a beautiful, beautiful call. Okay, I got to get a breath here. And, life is so beautiful. When you really look at people's stories, that's the thing. When we encounter one another, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got an interesting story. Everybody's got hardships and struggles. That's why you don't know what battle somebody is encountering when you meet them. And that's why it's important for us as Christians to really, really, try to get to the story, the heart of where people's come from is. And that's what I think we do on Take Two. So thank you. Belle, you are up next in Alberta, Canada, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Belle.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Take Two.
How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
How are you?
Well, I'll start when I met my husband, actually when we were teenagers, and we both came from alcoholic families, so we were not on the right track, but we were both happened to be Catholic, and we met and started dating, and then we were quite young, and I got pregnant, and so we decided, well, I actually was going to give the baby up for adoption. But actually, when I first got pregnant, the thing was I was so scared. It was like, I need to get an abortion. And it was like, no, I can't. I can't go through with that. Like, it was just, but the thought kept coming in my mind, because you just want a way out because you've messed up. And so I had the baby, and we were going to give him up for adoption, because my husband said, we can't do this right now. We're too young. But it was at the end there when I had him, it was like, I can't give him up. And so when he came and found that I had kept the baby, he had to go talk to his brother, and his brother said, "You dummy, you get back there and you marry her," and we got married. And then it was a hard road. We had good times and bad times, of course. We had 3 kids. We would go to church and that, but we were kind of on the fence for our faith. And it was just many years later that we started. He would have experiences of getting closer to God and in the charismatic renewal, and I wasn't there. And so these little doors would go up between us, and it was probably the past 15 years here we've come closer to the Lord. Well, my health has gotten worse for the past 12 years. It wasn't good. And so things started bringing us closer to the Lord, of course. And then my husband is studying to be a deacon, which at first it was a real shock, and it was like, I can't do this too. But we did, and I can't regret it at all. I think he's brought us a lot closer. We have 14 grandkids.
Oh, my goodness.
And 3 in heaven, and then another one on the way in August, and life's been amazing. And I've had a husband that is, literally stood by me through thick and thin.
Right, but Belle, you did as well. First of all, we'd love to add his first name because on his road in the formation, diaconate formation, we'd love to be praying for him. Can you share his first name?
Yes, Mitch.
Mitch, okay. Mitch, we are praying for you. What a beautiful journey. But you're both on that together, as which is wonderful. But Belle, I want to go back to your story, and believe me when I tell you this, there are young gals out there right now listening to you who may be in the same situation, and you had to muster up that strength to really do what you felt was the right thing to do and to keep your baby. And then Mitch did the right thing by having the two of you come together and have a beautiful life together. Now look how it has evolved. I mean, and so it takes that cooperation and that knowing that you down deep. See, something you said really hit a trigger with me. First of all, I just want to say, Belle, when your husband becomes a deacon and starts preaching, I really believe in my heart of hearts that you two have to share your story with others, because I think it can make a huge impact. I have to say that first. So, okay, said that.
I know, and people have said that, and it's like it's just hard to get out at times, but it's like, I know I have to do it.
Right.
Because others need it,
Others need it. That's exactly right. Others need it. And the second thing I just wanted to say, though, is something that I think was so beautiful about your heart, is that you said something so perfect, and that is the initial thought that people think is, I messed up.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate, because look what that, let's say for a second you did go down that road of thinking you messed up. And then what happens? Then there goes all the choices that are made afterwards and the consequences that we all experience. So what you said is very interesting, because that's Satan's trap, is to say to us, okay, you messed up now. Now try to do something to get out of this mess.
Yeah.
And then we end up spiraling. So, but what I think is beautiful is that you clung on to your heart.
Yeah, I kept saying all the time, Lord, help me. Please help me, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. And I would cry out to him, and it all followed through. I didn't even think about getting an abortion later, and I was like, I need to have this baby even if I have to give it to a good home.
Right.
I'll do that.
Right, because you were doing the selfless thing of saying, okay, I'll have the baby and then give the baby to a home that can welcome the baby. So many aspects of your story, I think tons of young people can really learn from, because in this world, they want us to react. That's what this world is all about. That's why when you go into these Planned Parenthood organizations, they don't let you see the ultrasound. Why? Because that gives you time. That gives you precious time to realize what you're doing. That's why that's what Satan's trap is. Satan wants us to react.
Yeah.
And
I know
wow.
When my daughter had her first baby, it was like I just had so many thoughts of the poor babies that are aborted. And I have this desire to pray a lot now for them and, tell others. I go out there and I tell others about abortions. Like they'll look at my boots and maybe say, oh, those are real seal boots? And I go, yeah. And they go, do you know what they did to them? I says, do you know what they've done to the unborn, to the millions of babies we've killed? And they don't really like that, but I have to say it. You have to make a stand, and I tell others that you got to be a voice out there.
Yeah, got to be a voice.
Yeah,
absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely. Belle, I just have to thank you so very much for having the courage and to trust us to share your story. And I feel in my heart very strongly that a lot of people will be impacted in a positive way because of your life journey and what you had to share today. And would you keep us posted on Mitch's formation and stuff? We'd like to celebrate with you.
I sure will. Yeah, it was hard. Actually, it was like, oh, maybe I should phone in. And then when I'm sitting on the line, I'm like, oh, maybe I should hang up right now.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
I just gotta, even if I can't get it out the greatest way, I'll get it out the best way I can. And
you did beautifully.
Help me. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yes. Well, the Holy Spirit had your back. Absolutely. Belle, thank you.
Did. Yes, and I love your program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Please pray for us. Would you do that?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. And tell Mitch we're so proud of him and keep us posted.
Okay. God bless.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See, this is why, dear listeners, we need Catholic radio stations all around the country. I mean, I know some of us have apps and different ways on the computer to listen to Catholic radio, but a lot of people really need that little, $20 radio that you plug in and you turn it on. My mother does. She needs that radio, that really little tiny radio with the digital clock on it. And this is why we need Catholic radio stations in every local area, rural areas, everywhere we can get them. So if your area does not have a local Catholic radio station, perhaps God is calling you to get involved, because you're only going to hear stories like this on Catholic radio. You may hear it sometimes if somebody wants a feel-good story on regular secular media, but it's rare. It's very rare. Catholic radio, you're going to hear the gospel message, the truth of Jesus Christ 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you feel prompted by the Spirit and you want to learn more about starting a Catholic radio station where you live, contact Jack Williams. He's so much fun to talk to. I laugh. I belly laugh every time I talk to Jack Williams. He is hilarious. And you can contact Jack Williams at 205-205-795-5756. Or if it's easier for you, just email him at jwilliams@EWTN.com. jwilliams@EWTN.com. Okay, real quickly, we're going to get to Audrey in just a second. Audrey, hang on. But I just wanted to share, because we're getting close to ending the show. Real quickly, there's more to share about my story, but as most of our Take Two family knows, I was married for 20 years, 2 children, went through a civil divorce, got an annulment, and then I prayed. I prayed. I said, Lord, if you want the vocation of marriage to be something you want me to have, then bring the right person in my life. I need a spiritual guy. I need a guy that loves God. I just need that. And I had this long criteria list, this long list, very specific, and I did it on purpose because I made it so specific that I thought God would never answer every one of my different little, different points that I wanted for a marriage. So I it was terrible. I'm going to make a confession right here. I kind of set God up, if you will, to say, well, he'll never answer every one of these things. So I'm just going to disregard every man that enters into my life. Well, lo and behold, my neighbor introduced me to a gentleman, and he was raised Catholic, but then actually kind of strayed away from the Catholic Church. Got into a non-denominational Bible-based church, was very Bible-oriented, very much loved the Bible. And he was from Syracuse, New York, Italian, Sicilian, actually, half Sicilian. So anyway, long story short, he met every single one of the criteria that I laid out for God. I fell on my knees in tears and said, Lord, I don't know how you did that, but obviously he is the man that is going to help me hopefully get to heaven, and I hope I can hopefully get him to heaven. And that's Marty Giorgiani. And he he got confirmed into the church, very active in the Catholic Church as a fourth degree knight. I am his sponsor, and we've been married since November 2009. So Marty's just the I think the perfect mate for me to journey on this earth and to really get closer to God, and that's what we're called to do in marriage. And we've been through a lot, and we still are going through a lot. The story's too long, but anyway, it brought us closer, and we're in this together, and so it's a good thing. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Audrey, you are up next in Florida, listening to EWTN Radio on Peace Be With You Radio. I love the name of your radio station, Peace Be With You Radio. I could say that over and over again. Hi, Audrey. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I met my husband in college. We were college sweethearts, and we became good friends, and he was a talker. I was a listener. And eventually he asked me to marry him 4 times. The first 3 times I said yes and then changed my mind. The 4th time he asked me, he said, I'm not going to ask again. This is the last time. If you don't say yes, I'm going away and you'll never see me again. What was on my heart was that this man needed somebody to love him. And I kept thinking, at the moment, should I, shouldn't I, back and forth. And but I knew he needed somebody to love him, and I felt in my heart that I was the person to do that. So after we got married, we both learned that we had a lot of anger. He had PTSD from Vietnam. I had PTSD from childhood molesting. So we eventually were married for 35 years and raised 2 children. And it was a very difficult marriage. But my faith and the rosary were part of my daily life. My husband, when I asked him about going to church, he said, look, I made my peace with God when I was in Vietnam, and I don't want to talk about it. And that was pretty much it until the end of his life. He was sick from the time he came home from Vietnam up until the time that he died. In the couple months, in the weeks before he died, one night when I was coming home from the hospital, I cried the chaplet over and over again until I got home. The following week, when I was getting ready to leave his hospital bed, I turned to see that my path was clear to the door, and by the time I looked back, which was just a second later, the whole aura of the room had changed, such that his skin was clear. It had always been troubled. His face was of such peaceful countenance that I had never seen on him before. And nothing had changed. The sunlight outside had been the same. The window blinds were the same, but this aura was not white like we would think of Jesus' transfiguration, but kind of an off-white affect. And so he died 7 days later. Well, 7 months after my husband died, I was walking through my kitchen, and I heard a voice talking to me, and I knew right away that it was God's voice. And this is hard. God said to me, Dave is with me now, Audrey. Let him go in peace. And that's how I met my husband, and that's how we lived our life.
Wow. Oh, my goodness, Audrey. Audrey, you said your husband's name is Dave?
Yes.
Okay. And here's, Audrey, what's incredible about your story is that you two together walked through so much. Mm-hmm. So much. You said you clearly stated it on what you've been through in your marriage, but your faith was was definitely an anchor. Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it's you just have to imagine, Audrey, that God is hopefully allowing Dave to hear your words today of what you're saying, because that it's a real testament on what true marriage, going through all of the struggles, all of the trials, all of everything you had to go through, but you guys did it together, and you didn't run. You didn't run.
We took lots of long walks.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we all do. But you know what? But that's just our human nature. You know, sometimes we do need to take that time apart or that break or whatever. But you didn't give up. And I believe, Audrey, my heart is telling me so strongly that you will see the fruits of that. You will see the blessings of that in eternal life. I believe it, Audrey. I believe it. And that's why I stay Catholic, because I believe it so strongly. Well, obviously the Eucharist, because it's our source and summit. But it's so important that we say this. And you know, Dave was very blessed to have you, and you were very blessed to have Dave. So, Audrey, thank you for sharing your story today. It's changed a lot of our hearts. It changed a lot of our hearts on the true meaning of marriage. Thank you, Audrey. And Dave is in our book. We're praying for Dave's just eternal rest for Dave. And thank you, Audrey. And we're praying for you too as well. We'll pray for all couples today. Today is a day we really are talking about couples. Audrey's call just reminded us, it's really important that we journey, when we enter into that vocation of marriage. This is a lifelong commitment. And it's a commitment that we've got to take seriously, because marriage is under attack. Look at what's happening to marriage. It's being torn apart. So today was a day that we just emphasized how important it is, and the blessings that flow, the eternal blessings that will flow. Wow, what a great show. I'm sorry Jerry missed it, but hopefully he'll get to listen to the replay. But he'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow we're talking about what would you title your autobiography. It's going to be a very interesting show. So please stay with us. Like us on Facebook, EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page. If you want to post to our prayer wall, just go to take2show.com. Look for the bright yellow button, the J&D button. That'll take you to the Jerry and Debbie site. You can put your prayer intention request on the prayer wall. Make sure you stay tuned in all day long to EWTN Radio, because you'll be filled. This will help you grow closer to God, and that's what we're all called to do. So thank you. Thank you to the Take Two family. We love you, and we hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.